Welcome back to the Stoic journey. Imagine someone who's desperately trying to attract another, texting, calling, rearranging their entire life to be available. They're bending over backwards, chasing, waiting on every reply. But here's the result. The person they're chasing grows more distant, less interested. They've become a puppet, losing their power bit by bit, turning into something disposable. Now picture someone else, someone who isn't chasing. They're focused on their own life, their own goals, and know their worth. They're calm, confident, self-assured. They don't need anyone's validation, and that quiet strength is magnetic. That's real attraction. That's Stoicism. Let's break this down even further. What do people really want in a partner? Think about it. They're not looking for someone who has no life of their own, no dreams, no direction. They don't want someone who's just sitting around waiting to be completed by another person. They're not looking for someone who molds themselves to be whatever the other person wants, who's willing to throw away their own identity just to fit in. That's not attractive. In fact, it's a turnoff. People want a partner who is whole, who stands strong on their own 2 feet, who has dreams, goals, passions, and a sense of purpose that doesn't rely on someone else's presence. It's simple. Attraction is rooted in respect, and respect comes from seeing that someone values themselves. People want someone who is independent, who has their own life, their own pursuits, and isn't afraid to chase them. They want someone who isn't waiting around trying to be someone else's shadow. They're drawn to someone who radiates self-respect and isn't afraid to put themselves first. That's the energy that pulls others in. It's magnetic because it's rooted in strength. When you focus on self-mastery, when you stop needing anyone else's approval, you create a kind of presence that naturally draws people toward you. They start seeing you as someone with depth, someone with layers that they want to uncover. That's the kind of person people want to be around. Not someone who's easy to control, not someone who needs constant validation, but someone who knows their own value and isn't afraid to show it. So let's compare the first scenario. Someone who has no life of their own, no direction, no independence. They're waiting, hoping, molding themselves into whatever they think the other person wants, playing the role of a puppet, ready to move at someone else's command. This person creates desperation, dependence, and eventually resentment. People grow tired of it. It becomes exhausting, predictable, and quite frankly, unattractive. Now the second scenario, someone who has independence, direction, a life they're proud of. They're not interested in begging for attention because they're too busy building something meaningful for themselves. This person attracts others because they exude confidence, self-respect, and authenticity. They're not a puppet, they're a force. And here's the truth. This second scenario is where real attraction lies. It's not in pleasing others, but in owning who you are so fully that others can't help but be intrigued, even drawn to your presence. There's a famous quote that puts it best. Master yourself, and others will be drawn to your mastery. Let that one sink in. Attraction doesn't come from pretending to be something you're not. It comes from being something they can't ignore. It's the mystery, the confidence, the unshakable sense of who you are that pulls people in. Not desperation, not eagerness. Stoicism teaches that true power is in control. Control over your reactions, control over your impulses, control over your need for approval. It's not about putting on a show. It's about becoming so solid, so certain in yourself, that people are drawn to you like a magnet. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. When you're desperate for someone's attention, you're running on fear. Fear of being alone, Fear of not being enough, fear that if they don't validate you, you'll be empty. But here's the kicker. That fear is exactly what keeps pushing people away. People can sense it. They feel when someone's grasping, when someone's bending, and it makes them pull back. If you want to be the one they lean into, the one they can't shake, you need to let go of that need and stand solid, unshaken by their attention or lack of it. Imagine this. You become their calm in the storm, their steady place, the one they come to, not because you're chasing them, but because you're rooted in who you are. That's the presence that Stoicism teaches you to cultivate, a power so strong, so unbothered, that it naturally attracts. You don't have to convince anyone to care about you because they see something in you they can't find anywhere else. People are drawn to strength, to confidence, to someone who isn't rattled by the ups and downs. That's what sets you apart. Not eagerness, not availability, but a sense of inner mastery. When you stop giving away all your time, all your energy, just hoping to be seen, you start respecting yourself, and others will too. When you show that you are enough, enough on your own, enough without anyone's approval, that's when the right people begin to lean in, start to wonder, start to chase. So, are you ready to accept this challenge? Are you ready to stop seeking validation and finally recognize your own worth? It's time to stop waiting around, hoping to be noticed, and start building a life so powerful that people are naturally drawn to you, not because you need them, but because you're already whole. This is your moment, and you are ready to step into your power, to own your worth, and to stop seeking validation from anyone but yourself. You're ready to rise above the need for approval, to choose yourself fully and unapologetically. Now go ahead, drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose myself. Write it down in the comments once and for all. Believe it and let the world know that you're done playing small. This is where everything changes. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you 6 solid steps that will completely change the way you approach attraction and self-mastery. And don't worry, no hard stuff like hitting the gym, no endless self-help mantras. We're going to dive into some dark Stoic secrets that are super easy to grasp, even in this fast-paced world. These are steps that will make you magnetic, unshakable, and entirely in control of your own life. So if you're ready to shift your mindset and start seeing real results, keep watching. You won't want to miss it. Number 1. Controlled chaos technique. So folks, let's kick things off with the controlled chaos technique. Now don't let the name scare you off. This technique is as simple as it is powerful. Imagine you're always available, quick to reply, ready to make plans, showing up at the drop of a hat. Seems thoughtful, right? But here's the brutal truth. When people know they can have your attention anytime, it starts to feel less valuable. You're dependable, sure, but also predictable. And nothing kills attraction faster than predictability. On this channel, we've talked about the power of being unpredictable. It's a trait that keeps people intrigued, engaged, and invested. But today, we're diving into a new level of unpredictability, something more intentional, more calculated. This isn't just about being unavailable or playing hard to get. It's about creating an aura of mystery that keeps people wanting more. Controlled chaos is a technique where you're not always on call, not always there at a moment's notice. You're mixing things up in a way that subtly reminds the person you're trying to attract that you have a life, interests, and priorities outside of them. Sometimes you're fully engaged, quick to reply, setting up plans, sharing laughs. Other times, you're a little quieter, harder to reach, maybe caught up in your own world. What happens next is almost magical. When you add a bit of unpredictability to your availability, the person you're trying to attract starts to wonder where you are, what you're up to, and why you're not instantly responding like you used to. You're no longer the person they can always count on to be right there, and that tiny bit of uncertainty, it's powerful. Think of it like this. Attraction is rooted in curiosity. When someone can't fully figure you out, when they're left guessing just a little, it keeps them interested. It's why we get hooked on stories with twists and turns. We want to know what's next. And in relationships, it's no different. When you introduce a bit of unpredictability, you're creating a dynamic that's hard to ignore. People are wired to want what they can't entirely have, so giving them just enough without always being around gives you that magnetic pull. Now let's be real. Controlled chaos isn't about ignoring the person you're interested in or being cold. It's about not making yourself so available that they start taking your presence for granted. You're still connected, still caring, but with enough mystery that it keeps them coming back for more. For example, if you're dating someone new, you don't need to be the first to text every day. Maybe you let them reach out first sometimes. Or maybe, after a great time together, you give it a day before setting up the next plan. It's subtle, but effective. Why does this work? Because it shows that you value your own time and aren't dependent on their approval or attention. People pick up on this energy. It's almost like a silent confidence. You're showing them without saying a word that you've got your own life and priorities, and that kind of self-respect, it's magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't need constant validation because it sends a message. I'm secure in who I am, with or without you. That energy is powerful. Now let's talk about the psychology behind it. The mind is wired to respond to intermittent reinforcement, basically rewards given unpredictably. Think of social media. People get hooked because they never know when they'll get that like, that message, that dopamine hit. Controlled chaos taps into this same principle. By being selectively available, you're making each interaction feel more valuable, like a reward they can't fully predict. They never know exactly when or how they'll get your attention, which creates a bit of intrigue and keeps them invested. A real-life example. Think of someone you're interested in who has their own routine, their own life, and isn't available all the time. When they do reach out, it feels like a big deal, right? Like you want to make the most of that interaction, because it's not always a given. That's the essence of controlled chaos. You're not ignoring them or trying to play games. You're simply maintaining a life outside of them, which makes your time feel like a privilege, not a given. This technique also cuts down on unnecessary drama and emotional exhaustion. When you're always available, always seeking their approval, you're more likely to feel hurt or frustrated if they don't respond the same way. Controlled chaos frees you from that constant cycle of needing validation. You're creating a balance where your emotions aren't entirely tied to their reactions, which is a huge weight off your shoulders. It helps you stay grounded and avoid getting too wrapped up in their behavior. You might be thinking, but won't they think I'm just not interested? Here's the thing. People value consistency, but they're also intrigued by those who have their own life. You're not ignoring them. You're just not dropping everything to reply, and that's okay. In fact, it makes them value you more because they can see you respect your own time. Think of it like building suspense in a movie. If you know every plot twist before it happens, it gets boring. But if there's a surprise, you're hooked. Controlled chaos lets you be that element of surprise. Here's a quote that nails the essence of controlled chaos. The most alluring thing a person can do is remain a little unpredictable. Bo Taplin. This quote speaks directly to what makes this technique so powerful. When you're not completely predictable, it keeps the person you're interested in on their toes, intrigued by what they can't quite grasp. Controlled chaos isn't about being distant or hard to reach. It's about creating a hint of mystery. People are naturally drawn to those who aren't fully figured out, who add a little surprise to their interactions. That slight unpredictability, it's magnetic. Imagine using this technique with someone you're trying to attract in a world where everyone's used to instant replies and constant availability. Instead of being the person who's always on call, you become the one who stands out. Someone who isn't jumping at every message or notification. This subtle unpredictability makes you memorable. Someone worth waiting for. Someone they start to look forward to hearing from. You're not ignoring them or playing games. You're simply showing that you value yourself and your time, and that energy, it's magnetic because it's rare. Controlled chaos also builds your own confidence. When you're not constantly seeking attention or approval, you realize that you're enough on your own. You don't need someone else's reaction to feel complete. And that, my friends, is powerful. It's a form of self-mastery. And in a world where everyone's trying to be noticed, you're standing out by valuing yourself first. So take this technique, try it out, see how it feels to be a little less available, a little more selective with your time and energy. You'll notice a shift, not just in how others respond, but in how you feel about yourself. Controlled chaos isn't just about creating attraction. It's about owning your presence, respecting your time, and becoming someone others naturally want to be around. And I know it will feel strange at first. You might think you're playing hard to get or being rude, but you're not. You're creating a space where your presence is valuable, not taken for granted. You're not needy. You're not desperate. You're centered, grounded, and in control. And that's exactly the kind of energy that attracts the right people. Number 2, intentional mistakes. So folks, after mastering the controlled chaos technique, let's dive into our next powerful move, intentional mistakes. Now, this might sound strange at first. Aren't we usually told to be our best and make a great impression? But here's the truth. Trying to seem perfect can actually push people away. When someone appears to never make a mistake, it feels distant, hard to relate to, and even makes people uncomfortable. People start feeling like they can't measure up, so instead of wanting to be closer, they start to back off. That's where intentional mistakes come in. This technique is all about allowing a few harmless slip-ups here and there. Things like a small typo, laughing at yourself for a minor mix-up, or telling a funny story where you didn't look perfect. These little mistakes don't make you look weak. They make you real. They're tiny flaws that make you seem relatable and down to earth. Instead of trying to impress with perfection, you're showing that you're comfortable with who you are, and that's incredibly attractive. Imagine this. You're texting someone you like, and instead of perfectly worded messages, you let a small typo slip in. Or maybe you're on a date, and instead of talking only about your accomplishments, you share a funny story about a minor fail you had. These aren't big mistakes. They're tiny intentional slip-ups that show you don't have to be perfect to feel confident. This gives people a sense that you're someone who's fun and real, someone they can relax around. Here's why it works so well. People feel comfortable around others who aren't trying too hard to be perfect. If you're always polished, always on, people start feeling like they need to match that. They feel pressure, and it can make them anxious or nervous. But when you let a small mistake show, it's like giving them permission to relax. It's saying, I'm human, just like you, and that makes people want to be around you because they feel they can be themselves too. Think about it. People remember the little quirks and imperfections in those they like. It's those small, real moments that make someone stand out. Being perfect might seem impressive, but it's often forgettable. But being real, that's memorable. Intentional mistakes help you create those real moments without trying too hard. You're being genuine, showing confidence without needing to prove anything, and that's attractive in a way that perfect can never be. Let's look at some examples. Imagine someone who never makes a single mistake, who's always dressed perfectly, speaks perfectly, and never lets anything slip. Impressive, sure, but also a bit hard to approach. Now, think of someone who can laugh at a small blunder, who doesn't mind sharing a funny story about a mix-up, who isn't trying to look flawless all the time. That person feels real, approachable, and much easier to connect with. Intentional mistakes let you be that person, someone who's confident enough to be human. And just to be clear, this isn't about making yourself look clumsy or careless. The power of intentional mistakes lies in keeping it subtle. You're not going overboard. You're just letting small things happen naturally. A little typo in a text, a quirky comment, or admitting a small flaw. These aren't things that make you look bad. They make you look relatable and real. They're hints that you're comfortable enough with yourself to not need everything to be perfect. Now I get it. Letting a mistake happen might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to trying to make a perfect impression. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. When you're okay with being a little flawed, it shows true confidence. You're saying, without words, I don't need to be perfect to be worth your time. And people pick up on that energy. They see that you're someone who doesn't rely on a perfect image for self-worth, and that's extremely attractive. So here's the challenge. Next time you're around someone you want to attract, allow a small, harmless mistake to happen. Maybe it's a funny story where you didn't look your best, or a little typo in a text that you laugh off. And whenever you find yourself stuck, remind yourself of the challenge. I choose myself. Let it guide you to let go of perfection, embrace your real self, and just be. And hey, if you're feeling inspired, drop it in the comments to motivate others on the same path. There's nothing better than helping others see the power in choosing themselves too. We're in this together, each small step, each small choice, making us more real, more magnetic. Intentional mistakes are a powerful step toward becoming the kind of person who attracts others effortlessly. When you're confident enough to be real, people can't help but be drawn in. And this is only the beginning. There's more to come, each step building on this foundation to make you even more magnetic. Stay with me, folks. This video is only for you, and I don't like talking to ghosts. Number 3, bold opinions, but friendly. So folks, let's move on to our next master move. Bold opinions, but friendly. This one is a powerful technique, especially if you want to stand out and create real attraction. Picture this. You're in a conversation with someone you're interested in, and instead of just agreeing with everything they say, you're expressing a clear, honest opinion, something genuine that shows you're not afraid to stand out. People respect confidence, and nothing shows confidence more than having a bold opinion, especially when you're friendly about it. Look, this is why it's so important to stay with me until the end. Those who've clicked away will never find out about this game-changing technique. They'll miss the chance to learn how a simple shift in your approach can make you more appealing and memorable. Think about it. When you express a strong opinion, you show that you have your own thoughts and values. It's a signal that you're confident enough to stand by what you believe, and that's incredibly attractive. Imagine you're discussing a topic that you're passionate about. Instead of nodding along and saying, I agree. You say something like, I believe that meaningful connections are built on open communication. That's bold, and it shows you're not just trying to fit in. You're bringing your personality into the mix. And the best part? You're doing it in a way that invites conversation, not conflict. You're sharing who you are while encouraging them to share their thoughts too. Having bold opinions doesn't mean you have to be confrontational. It's about stating your viewpoint with confidence while remaining friendly and approachable. This creates an engaging environment where both parties feel comfortable expressing themselves. When you share your thoughts in a relaxed way, it opens the door for deeper conversations and real connections. Now, let's dig into why this technique works so well. When you express a bold opinion, it's magnetic. People are drawn to those who know what they want and aren't afraid to say it. It's like a breath of fresh air in a world where many people play it safe and stick to generic responses. When you confidently share your thoughts, it makes you stand out, and it shows you're someone worth paying attention to. Here's the psychology behind it. People appreciate authenticity. When you have a bold opinion, you're being true to yourself. This authenticity creates trust and rapport. When others see you're willing to be open and honest, they are more likely to respond in kind. They feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and opinions too, which can lead to more meaningful and engaging conversations. Think about how this plays out in a relationship. When you express your opinions clearly, it gives your partner a chance to know you better. They can see what you value, what matters to you, and that creates a stronger bond. When you're upfront about your thoughts, it avoids misunderstandings and builds a solid foundation for communication. This isn't just about dating, it applies to friendships and professional relationships too. Being open about what you think shows that you're confident in your identity, which attracts others to you. Here's a practical tip. During your next conversation, make it a point to share your honest thoughts. Maybe the topic is something you're passionate about, or even something lighthearted. For example, if someone asks about your favorite movies, don't just say, I like everything. Instead say, I really believe that classic films have a depth that many modern ones lack. It's a bold opinion that opens up the floor for a fun discussion. You're showing personality and inviting them to share their thoughts too. And if they disagree with you, that's even better. It creates a lively discussion and gives you both a chance to learn more about each other. When you present your opinions in a friendly manner, it fosters respect and curiosity, making the conversation more engaging. Now, as you practice this technique, remember to embrace it fully. When you express bold opinions, you're not just sharing your thoughts, you're showing the world who you are. And if you ever feel hesitant, remind yourself, I choose myself. This simple phrase will help you reclaim your confidence and commit to being authentic. And if you find this technique inspiring, drop it in the comments. I choose myself. It's a great reminder for everyone that being real and bold is what truly attracts others. So stay with me as we dive deeper into this master move. Bold opinions, but friendly, can transform your interactions and help you connect with others on a more meaningful level. It's not just about making a statement. It's about creating connections that are genuine, engaging, and, most importantly, memorable. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're someone with personality, depth, and confidence, and that is incredibly powerful. Number 4, the quiet power move. All right, folks, we're diving into one of the most subtle yet impactful techniques, the quiet power move. This one isn't about big gestures or loud statements. Instead, it's about the silent confidence that speaks for itself. The quiet power move is the art of staying calm, controlled, and unbothered, especially when everyone else might be reacting or overreacting. It's a true dark Stoic move, and it's all about letting your presence speak louder than words. Picture this. You're in a room full of people, and someone's trying to stir up drama or push buttons. Most people are reacting, getting defensive or flustered, but not you. You stay calm, listening without letting your emotions show. You don't need to respond instantly. You don't feel the need to prove anything. Instead, you observe, maintaining a quiet, steady energy. That's the quiet power move. It's magnetic because it's rare. People feel the strength in your calmness, and it makes you stand out without you having to say a word. Here's a metaphor to bring it home. Think of a still, deep lake. When you throw a stone into a shallow pond, it creates a splash, rippling outward in all directions. But throw that same stone into a deep lake, and the water barely ripples. It stays calm, steady, powerful. You want to be like that deep lake. No matter what comes your way, you don't react with chaos. Your calmness is your strength, and it speaks volumes to those around you. The power in this technique lies in what you don't do. Most people feel pressured to fill every silence, to react to every situation, to constantly prove they're in control. But by staying quiet and composed, you're showing true confidence. It's saying, without words, I'm in control of myself, and I don't need validation from anyone else. People pick up on this energy, and it pulls them in because it's grounded and trustworthy. Here's why it's so attractive. People are drawn to those who are steady, especially in uncertain moments. Think about it. If you're in a challenging situation, who would you look to for guidance? The person who's calm and unshaken, or the one who's reacting to every little thing? The quiet power move makes you the person others feel they can lean on. It builds respect, and it makes people see you as someone they want in their corner. And whenever you feel tempted to break that calm, remind yourself of the challenge. I choose myself. Choosing yourself means choosing self-control, valuing your peace over impulsive reactions. You're not there to prove anything. Your silence, your patience, your quiet strength are enough. So take this challenge with you. Next time you're in a situation where everyone's reacting, try the quiet power move. Be the calm lake, the steady presence. Let your silence say everything that needs to be said, and watch how people start to see you in a different light. Someone with true, unshakable power. Number 5. Personal mini-challenges. So folks, up to now, we've mastered techniques that draw people in with quiet confidence, unpredictable ability, and subtle power. But here's the next level: personal mini-challenges. This technique is all about setting small, intentional challenges for yourself that build inner strength and make you naturally magnetic to others without you having to try. Look, this is why it's so important to stay with me until the end. Those who've clicked away will never find out about this game-changing technique, but you're still here, ready to level up. So, what exactly are personal mini-challenges? These are small tests you set for yourself daily, designed to push your limits just a little and build self-discipline. Maybe it's deciding to wake up 15 minutes earlier each day, taking a 5-minute cold shower, or even committing to 1 hour each night without any distractions. The point isn't the difficulty, it's about proving to yourself that you can set a goal and achieve it, no matter how small. Each time you complete one of these challenges, you're strengthening that inner resolve. You're showing yourself, I can do this, and building a sense of self-respect that others can sense. Why does this matter for attraction? because people are naturally drawn to those who have a solid sense of inner discipline and commitment. It's that quiet confidence you build, knowing that you can rely on yourself, that makes others intrigued. When you challenge yourself, even in small ways, it sends out an energy that you're a person with purpose, someone who's constantly working on themselves. And believe it or not, that energy is incredibly attractive. Imagine being around someone who's just committed to their own growth. You see it in their actions, their discipline, their self-respect. They don't have to tell you about it. It's obvious in the way they carry themselves. That's what these mini challenges create. You start to become that person others admire, not because of what you say, but because of how you live. Here's a metaphor. Think of yourself as a mountain climber aiming to reach higher altitudes. Each personal mini challenge is like a small climb up the mountain. The more you take these small, consistent steps, the stronger and more resilient you become, both inside and out. Eventually, people start noticing that quiet strength in you, that sense of self-assurance that doesn't rely on anyone's approval. And here's the best part. These mini challenges don't need to be flashy. They're for you and you alone. It could be resisting the urge to check your phone first thing in the morning, or deciding to meditate for just 5 minutes a day. These might sound small, but each challenge you take on and conquer strengthens your inner confidence. That quiet strength makes you stand out in a way that people can't quite put their finger on. So here's your challenge. Pick one mini challenge that you'll commit to for a week. Something small but meaningful. And whenever you find yourself doubting whether it's worth it, remind yourself of the ultimate challenge. I choose myself. You're choosing to build strength from within, step by step, no matter how small. And if you're feeling inspired, drop it in the comments. I choose myself. Let others know you're ready to push your boundaries, to grow, and to attract through quiet, undeniable confidence. Stick with me, because this journey is far from over, and each step will keep building on the last. Stay committed, and let's keep climbing together. Number 6. Strategic absorption. So folks, we're down to the final step, and this one's a true game changer. Strategic absorption. This move is all about becoming an incredible listener and fully tuning in to the other person. Now, I know what you're thinking. Listening, really. But trust me, this goes deeper than nodding along and saying, yeah, totally. When you master strategic absorption, you become magnetic without even saying much. It's a quiet power move, one that leaves a lasting impression on anyone you talk to. Picture this. You're in a conversation, and instead of jumping in with your own stories or opinions, you're fully present, listening with intention. You're noticing their expressions, their tone, the little details they're dropping. And here's the magic. They can sense that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk. You're genuinely engaged, like they're the most interesting person in the room. You're absorbing what they're saying, and they can feel it. This level of attention is so rare that it's almost like a superpower. People are drawn to it because it makes them feel seen, understood, and valued. A quick example. Let's say you're talking to someone who's passionate about a hobby, maybe cooking or painting. Instead of nodding and saying, "That's cool," ask a follow-up question. Dive deeper. What's your favorite dish to cook? Or, what inspired you to start painting? You're not just skimming the surface. You're digging in and making them feel like their story matters. And here's the funny part. When you do this, they'll remember you as one of the best conversationalists they've met, even if you barely said anything. Here's a quote that nails the essence of strategic absorption. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Stephen Covey. When you approach a conversation with the intent to truly understand, you're doing something that most people don't. They're so used to being half listened to that, when someone actually cares enough to absorb their words, it feels like a rare gift. And here's the best part. While they're talking, you're learning so much about them without having to reveal anything about yourself. It's the ultimate power move because it lets you connect deeply without putting all your cards on the table. Now, let's add a bit of humor here. It can feel intense, right? You're in strategic absorption mode, and they're probably thinking, wow, this person is amazing. Meanwhile, you're just sitting there nodding and letting them do all the talking. It's almost like being a conversational ninja, making a big impact by barely moving. They're walking away thinking you're fascinating, and all you did was listen. Imagine this in action. You're on a date, and they start talking about their recent trip. Instead of jumping in with your own travel stories, you just ask, what was the best part of the trip for you? Or, what made that trip different from others? These are small questions, but they make the person feel like they're in the spotlight, like you're genuinely curious about their experience. And when they leave that conversation, they'll remember it as one of the best they've had, because they felt important, valued, and truly listened to. Now, strategic absorption isn't about being passive or staying silent. It's about being active in your listening. You're not sitting there zoned out. You're fully present. You're asking questions that show you're following along, showing that you're invested in what they're saying. This is why it's so effective. You're creating a sense of connection and making the other person feel like they matter. And that feeling? It's magnetic. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen and heard, because it's so rare in a world full of distractions, where everyone's half listening while checking their phone. Being fully present is like a breath of fresh air, and whenever you feel tempted to jump in or turn the conversation back to yourself, hit yourself with that challenge. I choose myself. You're choosing to listen, to absorb, because you know that truly connecting with others is a form of strength. You don't need to dominate the conversation to make an impact. You're choosing to be there, fully present, and let your quiet confidence shine through. If you want to add an extra layer of charm, end the conversation by summarizing something meaningful they shared. For example, if they talked about their goal of climbing a mountain, say, I think it's amazing that you're aiming for that. It sounds like it's something really important to you. This shows that not only were you listening, but you truly absorbed what they said. They'll walk away thinking, wow, this person really gets me. So here's your challenge. In your next conversation, try out strategic absorption. Let them do the talking, listen deeply, ask questions, and resist the urge to make it about you. And if you're inspired, drop I choose myself in the comments. Let others know you're committed to connecting deeply, to being fully present. Remember, folks, each of these steps is building on the last. Strategic absorption is the final piece that brings it all together. By being fully engaged and absorbing what others share, you're not just making a strong impression, you're creating a lasting connection that people will remember. Stay with me, keep practicing, and watch how these moves transform your presence. So folks, as we wrap up this powerful journey through the techniques of attraction, remember that mastering these steps will transform how you connect with others. Embrace the quiet power move and strategic absorption, and watch how they enhance your presence. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and drop I choose myself in the comments to inspire others. Your journey doesn't end here. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll dive into even more strategies to elevate your attraction game. Until then, keep practicing, keep shining, and I'll see you in the next video.